I like to talk about wine a lot. I mean, I love wine. But I've never seen someone compare the immigration journey to fine wine. And that's what Komal did. And that's so true. Like, you know how they say, like, you mature like fine wine. I think that's what the immigration journey can be like. The beginning can be hard, like really hard. But if you stay in it, I think it gets better with time. Like wine. It does get better with time. But I mean, you have to put in the work though. But yeah, let's get to me and Komal talk about fine wine and immigration. Welcome to the Newcomers Podcast, Komal. You've been here 10 years.
Yes.
So you moved to Canada, give or take, that's
actually
like
9.
2013?
No, actually 9
2014?
years. Technically, like I came here 2015, so this is my 9th year. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's 9 years actually.
Yeah.
First
Rounding
question
it up.
Yeah?
Rounding it up to 10.
Yeah. I mean, they do it in math, so we might as well do it in our lives, right?
Exactly. I didn't even count it that well. I was like roughly 10, 9. Okay, same thing.
And I want to just ask you is one thing I always think about a lot is what was kind of like before, and just someone who spent that amount of time here.
Yeah.
What was kind of like when you moved to Canada, and what is it like now? Through the view of an immigrant and an immigrant woman, for that matter. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know what the funny thing is? When I moved in 2015, people were telling me, "Oh, you didn't come at the right time. We're just in a recession." And right now as well, we're in the worst recession, sort of. So it's a good question. So when I came here, I heard similar kind of things like, "Oh my God, rents have gone up. Everything is more expensive. You probably came at the wrong time." And I was like, holy crap, what? Like, maybe I made a mistake. I'm late to the party. But I think over time, what I've seen is even though I came when apparently it was some kind of recession, or like the after effects of a recession.
Yeah.
But it was much better in a lot of ways then versus now, especially when it comes to like a few specific things. Like money wise, it was much different, more affordable. And to be honest, like I actually got the first room that I got in a house, I paid like $500 rent. This today would be unbelievable. So like money wise, healthcare, oh my God, healthcare is now so bad and so awful, but it used to be not as bad. Also like services in general, waiting times, frustration levels, I see those changes a lot in this time. But if I'm to see my own journey, I think it's been the opposite. Like the start was the hardest part, and then there were ups and downs. It was like a weird kind of journey, but it only got better with time. Like it was like good wine. It aged well. So
I love that analogy.
yeah, like now it's so much better in my personal space in Canada versus how it was when I moved. Yeah, that's what I see.
Did you move as a student?
I did, yes. I came to do a master's program at OCAD University, and it's Master's in Strategic Foresight and Innovation.
Okay.
In Toronto. So yeah, I came for that, and then I don't know, people told me, I mean, you're coming to Canada, you'd be stupid to leave just after your master's. So I was like, well, that's actually a good point. Might as well get some experience. I went through the whole spiel. Like I went through the whole like step-by-step process. I didn't miss any step. I got the first work permit, then I got my second work permit, then I got my PR, then this like every step I took through and through. Yeah.
You know, I find it interesting because I wonder if you came as a student. Do you think the start was hard because it was student life? Like, if you think about if you had come as someone who was working, do you think it'll be any easier, or you think that it'll still be hard, but probably not as hard as it was as a student, or it doesn't matter at all?
I can't really compare, but if I look at some of my friends who came with PR and got work here versus as a student, I do think as a student there are odds and evens. It's hard because you're broke all the time. You're always thinking about money and how to save money, and you're trying to find ways to like get your assignments done, also like do your job. Like there's so much. Versus when you come as an immigrant, like with PR or like work permit or job, it's like a bit more secure financially. But the good point is, like with as a student, you get to integrate in the community a bit better. You get to make some friends. It's
Yes.
like default, right?
Yeah.
Like those people, at least for the first 2-3 years before other people figure out where they want to go now, you kind of integrate, and you also learn a lot about culture, what's good and bad.
I agree. I do. I agree with that because I feel like I came as a PR, like express entry. So I came straight as a PR, and I feel like you come with that, and you have things you need to do. You have goals you need to meet, and so
Mm-hmm.
you're just. I mean, yeah, you probably start making money the first 2, 3, 4 months, depending on how fast you get a job.
Yeah.
But you just have things to do and stuff, bills to pay. You have black tax. I don't know if that happens in your country, but like back home, there's something we call black tax, which means that you travel, you have family back home you're sending money to. So we call
Yeah.
that black tax. And so you have that to deal with.
Oh yeah.
So
I know a lot
you
of guys
you have
in
all that. So I guess as a student, yeah, it's a bit, yes, you're thinking about money, but I think you have more time to ramp up. Unlike
yeah, a little bit. Like it's probably more stressful because you have so much to do as a student, because on top of like all the bills and stuff, you also have to finish your studies. Like you also have to pass, and you also have to like do those the coursework, work with the
yes.
team. But at least some part of it is like fun, because you're like, you're a student, you're here to have fun, and you do stupid things, you explore the place with your friends, you get friends by default, sort of. You don't have to, like, I feel like some of my friends who came on PR, they have to go out of their way to kind of find friends and make those kind of connections. In student life, you don't have time. Two, kind of happens, in classes. You find one or two people at least. You're like, okay, I'll waste my
Yeah.
time with these idiots.
Yeah, that's so true. I was there's a podcast episode I'm going to publish soon with a guy called Tunde, and he says that you're so right about the fact you don't have time. So as a PR,
Hmm.
that time for that social connection, it's hard to find,
Yeah.
and you have to go out of your way to do it, and it's also harder because it's a new culture, new nuances, more different kinds of people. You're not back home where you sort of knew the rules of the game of all social
Yeah.
engagements, but now you have to learn that, and you still have to settle into work, and you have to get going with work. With a student, you're just like, you know what? Hey, let's go party, let's go play, let's go do all that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I see that difference. Yeah, I think
you
that
know,
would be. Mhm.
did you travel a lot while you were a student?
No, I was broke a lot. My friends used to travel quite some, and I think maybe I might have gone to like maybe one trip or max two, like 1-day trips, but I was that person who had to say no and make up some reason, or just mind my own business. 'Cause I don't know, like as a brown person, maybe that's the thing. Like I would always think, okay, you know what? Right now, I'll just get through this, and then I'll have money and I will travel the whole world.
It's amazing how our culture affects
Yeah.
how we engage with stuff. We tend to try to ignore it or to like, no, it doesn't, it's not there. But
Yeah.
it just shows up in very small ways. And then when you, as you grow older and think about it, you're like, wait, my mom used to do this and I'm doing it now.
I so agree.
And it doesn't matter if you're in Canada and she's back home in Pakistan or like, it doesn't matter. Like you just do it. And then you're like, wait, mom, just do this.
Exactly. Like I used to be like always telling my parents, "Oh my God, we should travel. Like, what's the problem?" And they were like, "Okay, after this major expense, we'll go travel." And I just didn't get the idea. I'm like, look at those white people. Look at those friends. They just are always prioritizing travel over everything. What are we doing? And then I move here. I'm like, I should save and I'll travel when I have more money. And I was like, holy shit.
Oh gosh.
It's
Culture is so
in,
strong. Honestly, culture is so strong.
it is. It's embedded in somehow.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. There's something you said I really like about immigration being like fine wine and stuff. And I'm just going to ask now, seeing how, you've all matured like fine wine, what are the biggest lessons you've learned about just settling in and just getting better with the flow as an immigrant? You mean you've spent 9 years here? You're an super experienced,
Yeah, it's qualified now.
yeah, exactly. Like you've done 10,000 hours. Like you've earned your stripes, right?
Exactly. I get a free coffee after all these 10 weeks. Oh my God. Yeah, this question is quite intense, but I'm sure like there must be like smaller lessons through everything that I will not remember right away.
Yeah,
But
that's okay.
some of the biggest lessons, I'm just reflecting. I think one big lesson was being consistent. I think when I was in my home country, consistency was something that I just kind of took for granted. Like, okay, fine, I don't have to make friends and be consistent in that effort, or I have to like pursue my career goals and be consistent, or I have to like go from one step to the other in terms of like getting making my position as towards a citizenship. I have to be consistent and all of that. Like being consistent was like so hard because there were so many obstacles through everything. It was like emotional stuff versus like sometimes you just kind of give up. You're like, why am I even doing this? Like I could just go back home and chill and why? But I think one of the biggest lessons was if you want something, you have to be consistent. Or if you want to make something better in the future, consistency would be most important. I think another lesson was appreciating diversity. It might sound cliched, but I don't think I experienced diversity the same way as I experienced in Canada. And I don't mean it like just cultural diversity. I mean it like in terms of perspectives, in terms of like options for the future, in terms of everything really. It was just so many diverse kind of diversity really added the charm to everything, and being open to that diversity really was like a big lesson. Sometimes one thing didn't work and I said, okay, you know what are my options? And there is A, B, C, D. But the moment, like, if I keep focusing on that one thing, like, why is it not working and why is it not happening and all that thing, I will not move forward. But like having the ability to step back and be like, okay, let's open up. What are my other divorce options here? And then being okay going with something that I wasn't thinking about before. That was a big lesson. Like, for example, jobs and stuff. In the beginning, when I did my master's, I realized like I wasn't getting a job. I thought, the world, how they make you feel in institutions. They make you feel like, oh my God, when you graduate, the world is waiting for you. Like, you will get a job
Yeah.
for like 100K right away. So you graduate, and I wasn't getting a job, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm probably failing at this. I'm not good at like self-doubt, and also like figuring out what should I do. And you start running out of money. So I stepped back and I said, okay, you know what? That's not happening. It's fine. Nothing is wrong with me. It's just probably timing or whatever. What are my options? And I started doing this Airbnb for single women who were traveling. I started giving them sort of like a bed in my lounge. And because I knew like women, when they travel on their own, they want to find cheap places, but like it's always so shady and weird to find those cheap places. So me being a woman, I was like, okay, I can maybe help others. Like, oh my God, and I can make rent. So I jumped into that, and I started getting like fully booked. And that's how I started making my rent in the beginning when I wasn't in a job. So that was a big lesson of like diversity, being open to diverse thoughts, ideas, options. And yeah, I think the other thing would be, and this is going to sound funny, but kind of links to consistency in some ways, but sometimes we tend to give up. And we go like, okay, everything is good, but this thing is not working, so I'm going to give up. And I think being okay with that, but if you feel like coming back to the same point is going to take you forward, also being okay with coming back to it and continuing from there on. Now, it's going to sound very abstract, but I'm going to give you an example. Like,
No,
for example,
it doesn't actually. It
yeah,
doesn't. It doesn't.
yeah,
It makes a lot of sense because, especially as an immigrant, because I feel like as an immigrant, like there's so much going on with you.
yeah,
Like you're not sure. You took a big risk. You packed your life into two small bags and moved to a new country. Like that's what you did. You packed your life into two bags and they moved to a new
exactly.
country. And so I'm like, the why I like that is because if you could do that, because that's insane. You're being insane, actually. That's you're clinically insane to think of that. Like you pack your life into two bags and move to a new country. Then who says that you can't look at something and say, okay, it's okay that I walk away from this right now because it's not working. And it's also okay to actually come back to it because I think I should give it another try.
Yeah,
Because you're already certified insane by deciding to travel and leave
yeah.
your country. So why don't you just fully go insane and
Exactly. I kid you not. I literally, in 2018, I packed my bags. I said, Canada is not working for me. I'm going back. This is it. I'll see what I want to do. And I packed those two bags. It was 100 bags, but I like sold everything, got rid of everything, came down to two
you
bags,
serious?
came back to Pakistan. I started teaching there. I started like figuring life out there. I stayed there for like 9-10 months. And then I realized, there was a reason why I left. And I'm not okay with having a life here. I think that life was that life was better, but it was just a little bit more challenging. So I packed my two bags again, and then I came back to Canada. But I made a conscious choice there. And then after that, I think whenever I felt like, okay, I give up, go back, I was reminded of that moment. Okay, I've given it a try. It's okay if I
Yeah.
feel this way, but it's also okay to like feel that, but continue the life here because I chose this for
Yes.
for some reasons which were important reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. I mean, like Camille, I have this one episode with Camille, a friend of mine. He lives in Vancouver too. He says something about how he told his friends, I want to come back home. They're like, what are you coming back to do? There's a reason why you left in the first place. So why are you coming back? you know. I find what you said about the Airbnb thing interesting. And I'm just wondering, because I know you run a business called Wanderlite. Like,
Yes.
are those two experiences related in any way? Like, why did you? Because like, yeah, because I feel like it feels like you're running a premier version of the Airbnb business right now, in a way, you know.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Now that you're bringing up, I'm thinking maybe it started back then. Maybe it all started back then. So, okay, so Wanderlite is like you can rent gear from other people the same way as Airbnb works for like renting spaces from other people. You can rent your own gear, like camping gear, kayaks. And I think ever since I moved to Canada, I've always wanted to help other people who were either traveling, especially women who were traveling on their own, moving on their own. Because I moved on my own. Like it was it still is kind of not as common, but it was more uncommon for like a single woman to just be like, okay, mom, I'm not coming back. I'm gone.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to support other people in that journey. And I guess I was telling you that earlier as well. I was doing a project on finding commute and travel challenges for women and how to improve them and how these challenges affect their lives. So this was a big research project which kind of like changed my life in so many ways. And we conducted it in UK, Pakistan, and Malaysia. And while I was there in Coventry University conducting the research, there was one day I had some time free. I was like, I want to go around on a bike ride. Like, it would be so nice to just bike around, see places, and enjoy. It was a nice day out. And I tried looking for rentals, and they were kind of like farther out. But I was staying in Coventry University, and the university was full of bikes everywhere. And so I thought, what if like I could just knock someone's door and be like, could I borrow your bike for a day and I'll pay you for it? And I thought, oh my God, what if like people could do that for other people? And if I can help build that, it'll help so many travelers like who are visiting. You can't carry everything everywhere,
Yeah.
And stuff for leisure is like least priority when you're moving or like when you're out there traveling. You're not going to carry your camping gear everywhere you go, but you want to camp. And rentals are going to be available, but not like right away, or having a rental from somebody who loves and uses that product versus just a rental. It's like a different feeling. So yeah, it kind of happened that way, but like maybe it started with that Airbnb that I did.
I actually think it did. I think that was Wanderlite 1.0. You're not running Wanderlite 2.0 right now, but I think it started like back then, like with the Airbnb thing.
So, yeah, I wanted to help other female travelers, and I was like, maybe it started there. And I kid you not, the first start to Wanderlite was I wanted to make this network where other women become guides for single women who are traveling. And then it kind of had its journey that became a gear rental and helping people through gear rentals. And now I'm adding trips to it, so like group trips. But yeah, I think the Airbnb was the starting point of everything. I'm going to change my story now. I'm going to start from there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it started all the way there. It started all the way back there. I majority of your customers women still? Like, are you seeing that those numbers mostly women?
It's a mix. I don't think I've achieved the goal that I have because it's so new as well. But we have a mix at the moment. They're both women and men. I wouldn't say one is the majority over another. It's pretty much an even number. But in some stuff, like camping stuff, we have more men than women, unfortunately or fortunately. But the goal is to bring in more women. And now that I'm in the second year of like taking it forward, I really want to bring it back and encourage more women to be a part of our team and also be part of our user base and give them incentives maybe or help in some other ways, think of creative ideas, but striving for that.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I think I have like 3 more questions for you, and then we'll round this up. But you talked about going home and then
Yeah.
coming back, and so I'm going to ask a very interesting question around that. Is despite the fact that you know that life back home is not what you think you want to live, you want the life here. What do you miss most about your home country?
What I miss most? You mean now or like what I used to miss most?
Well, we can actually do the two. Like, what did you miss most then? And like, what do you
Yeah.
miss most now? It's right because you've gone and come back.
Yeah, exactly. Before, like, okay, maybe it happens to every immigrant, or maybe it happens to a few, but I feel like when we move away, we kind of build this romanticized image of our home country. Like, somehow our mind tricks us into believing there
Yes.
was nothing wrong. Remember
Yes.
those moments we used to sit together and have so much fun?
Yes.
And all the delicious food, and my mom used to make me food, and it just becomes like this romantic vision. So before, I used to miss little luxuries, like having a maid to like do chores, like clean clothes and do the dishes, which to me felt like, oh my god, I have to do this besides all the other stuff that I have to do. And it's kind of common in Pakistan to have maids, which here seems like such a big luxury.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad. Of course, like those maids are not paid as well as they're paid here, but it's
Yeah.
part of the culture. So that small luxury felt like such a good thing to me. And then food, oh my god. I used to miss like the smell of that original authentic food, especially when my mom would make it. Oh my god, I used to miss that so much. And just being able to chill. I think it's underrated. It's not as appreciated here, but like the pace of life in Pakistan was slower and I could just chill. Like I could take like 3 months off and not worry about going broke and just relax. Here, if I decide to take 1 month off, I'll be homeless and I won't have a life. So that's what I used to miss. Now I think I just miss parents and family mostly. And slowly I've been successful in bringing them here.
No,
So
nice.
I'm finding the best version of this country by bringing my family here,
Yeah.
slow and steady. So, yeah, that's the change, I think. I can
Yeah.
make the food myself. I found authentic food places.
Does it
Yeah,
really taste the same though? Does it really taste the same like back home?
I will surprise you with one thing that actually some of those things taste better.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well,
I have this debate. Yeah, I have this debate with my cousin who just moved like a year ago, and she says, no, it's not the same. Like, no way. And I was like, I don't know. I probably like my taste buds have changed or whatever. But sometimes I find food tastes better in some parts. And I don't know whether it's me or just I found good places. I don't know. Maybe more
Yeah.
hygienic in some ways. I don't know. But now I don't as much. No.
Mm.
I like my fusion food. I like the other cuisines that I've added into my life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That
Yeah.
but that also probably changed your palate a bit because when you start to eat
Yeah.
different kinds of things and your palate kind of adjusts a bit. I have this favorite thing I now call immigrants. I call us the in-betweeners. So we are in between. So like for example, you're not fully Pakistan and you're not fully Canadian. So you're just in between there somewhere. And
Yes.
it's a strength, but it's also a weakness in a way because it means that something you never really fit in and you will never really fit in. I think someone said to me that I should make peace with the fact that you will never really fit in. You will always be somewhat of an outsider back home and here, but itself is a strength somehow. I
Yeah,
guess it's not that
I
bad.
would totally agree to that. And yeah, it's not bad because it's just finding comfort with that because maybe we're used to of having just one identity. And also like as an immigrant, you kind of really struggle with understanding what is your sense of belonging and identity. I think it's an underlying question that every immigrant goes through. Some people connect with their religion more. Some people connect with the culture. They just realize, okay, you know what? I wasn't as religious in my country, but here my identity is my religion. And that's my community. I connect with those people. So they'll just stick with that identity. Some people will fit into like the cultural thing. They will never say, oh, like I'm a bit Canadianized now, or like I've changed. They will say, no, I am from this country and that's my identity. And some people will just completely shift and be like, no, I'm very Western and I identify with being more here. But I think you raised a really good point. It's being in two ships in a way, and then sailing through, being okay with it, you know? Yeah. Because there is joy in both.
Yeah, of course. Because your strength, I'm like, it's a strength. You take the Canadian side, you take your home side, you merge it together, you form something new with it.
I love taking everything good from every stuff that I like. When I visit a country, I'm like, ooh, this thing was so yummy or so good. I'll just bring it, like bring the recipe with me or bring some part of that with me. I mean, why not? You know, add it to your palate.
Yeah. And now building on that, like, what do you find most beautiful about your heritage that you're planning to keep on for the rest of your life?
I think I associate a lot with my Punjabi heritage. I'm sort of half Punjabi, or I was born and raised in like a very Punjabi culture. And as I grow older, I find myself really enjoying that part of my heritage, the jokes, the funny curse words, the way of expression, the colors. I think I would really want to keep that and maybe even pass it on to my future generation, to my kids.
Yeah.
I think that part really is beautiful.
Yeah, I like that. That's such a beautiful way to look at it, honestly. So the last question I have for you is there anything you'd have done differently in hindsight?
Many things.
I like that.
Like, I have no regret, but like, yeah, if I knew it and I would go back, you know, if I have a razor or like a new kind of pen, I'm like, okay, I can change this piece. It's okay. One thing. I think I would go back and be a bit more flexible and give myself a bit more space. Like, it's okay if you're not doing the best that you should be doing, or it's okay if the self-help book that you read wants you to be like 100% and you're not 100%, you know, giving less crap about that. I would have changed.
Yeah. Someone said, be patient with yourself.
Yeah, just give yourself a little bit more space. You know, it's okay. You're doing good. And you're doing your best. And if you're not 100%, it's okay.
This is a good place to end this interview, because like that is the best advice ever. It's okay. Like, it's okay. You're doing okay. Like,
yeah.
And so I would say thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're good. You're okay. You're doing really good, because we tend to set such high standards sometimes for ourselves, not even other people, ourselves. We're like, oh my God, in these 3-4 years, I should have done this. In these 7-6 years, I should have done this. It's okay. You're really doing good.
This has been beautiful. Thank you so much, Komal. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was such a good conversation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for listening to this point. We really, really appreciate it. As usual, please like, share, subscribe, Substack, YouTube, Apple Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast. But most importantly, if you have someone who you think should be on the podcast, please hit reply to our emails. Just leave a comment on Substack or YouTube and we'll reach out to the person. And if you know someone who finds this interview useful, please send it their way. Thank you.